Hello everyone, my name is Rose Ngare. In this course of accountability and accreditation, I'm going to give a presentation about the best practices in institutional effectiveness as it relates to the students' learning. I have particularly taken on two resources. We know there are many resources to operate or to make an organization run smoothly, but I've zeroed in to two of them which are very important. That is the human resource and financial resource, or physical resource if you want. Now, I've divided my presentation into four components, which is number one, I'm giving a brief introduction of what human resource and physical resources are. Number two, I will briefly talk about human resource. Component number three, I will talk about physical resource. And the last one, I will give my conclusion. Now, to begin with, let me give introduction as to what is human resource. Now, Omebe 2014 defines human resource as the personnel or the education personnel that are major instruments of achieving educational goals. He goes on to say that this applies to physical resources, which is also financial resources. He gives a definition on physical resources that are basic in any institution. Now, if I may talk about human in my introduction, when we talk about human resources in any institutions, be it a school, a secondary, primary school or intermediate school, or preschool or university, we need human resource. That is the personnel. Now, human resource means any person, any human person that works in this institution. This includes the lecturers, the workers, subordinate staff. It will also include the administration. It will include the parents who also come in handy and help in the schools, the community, the people, the community around us, education administrators, and even the students. They are human resource, because without them, we cannot run an institution. We need students to teach so that the lecturers or the instructors will have somebody to teach. And without these people, and we need these people with the right qualifications. If we are going to offer good quality, any institutions that needs to offer good quality education must have the right people in the right positions. Physical resources, which means financial resource, is defined, as we all know, as the money that's needed to purchase the materials, to maintain equipment, purchase equipment and maintain them, that's repairs and everything else, and even to pay the human resources above. So financial resources actually comes number one for any institutions to run properly and to give quality education. My presentation will focus on these two for now, and I want to go straight to human resource and the impact on teaching and the learning process. Now, the function of human resource, as I've said above, or as I've explained earlier, means we have teachers to start with who are going to teach in our institutions. We have subordinate staff. These include the principals, the administrators. We also include parents, as we said earlier, or as I said earlier, as human resource, education administrators who go through schools to inspect on what's going on and how the schools are being run, These are the administrators either in our school, in an institution or school district, or in the nation or state. They usually come to schools and inspect. And now this reference has been taken from Hawk and Camalodon. And the earlier, in my introduction, I had taken a reference from Barr and Maclan 2018. Now, the human resources, excuse me, that I've said should be having or should have the proper qualifications. And once they are in our schools, we need to allocate them to their specialties. The lecturers will be allocated to what they specialize in, to teach or offer training on classes that they have qualified in. We need support net who are qualified in their field. This makes the human resources makes the difference in supporting the teaching learning process with reference to their contributions in ensuring that an institution remains effective. This is institutional leaders. Through resource allocation, they ensure that sufficient resources are allocated to support the teaching and learning process. Again, we also need human resources who know how to make a budget, who know how to allocate the resources that we may acquire either from donations or that the school or institutions will buy. This according to Midawa 2010. The parents also are engaged as human resource because they are concerned with the performance of their children, and sometimes they are handy to bring in the much needed resources as in material, and some parents even donate whatever is missing in the school, and others give finances. That's according to Hawk and Camalodon 2014. The faculty members come into perspective in terms of core activities that they engage in the school. Some of these activities are teaching, research, and academic services. The importance of these people to note is that we give special attention to their qualifications, and the surveys that focus on institutional effectiveness have shown that without the right human resources, the school cannot achieve or perform well or achieve its goals or objectives or vision as expected. I will go to resource number 2, which actually should have come number 1, which is the physical or financial resource. And I'm going to talk as the importance of this as it impacts learning. Now, as I've said, physical resource, which means financial resource, is the money that is needed to purchase everything that is needed for the school. We need to have all the material and the right quality. We need to have the equipment, and we need to have money to purchase and maintain this equipment. We also need money to pay the human resources that I've already said earlier. Without them, without the money, we cannot hire the right teachers. As we all know, a well-qualified lecturer or instructor will ask or requires more pay than one who's underqualified. So for us to have qualified lecturers, we must have the necessary finances to pay them. We must have the necessary finances to buy material, necessary finances to take our students for trips, to take our teachers for benchmarking, to see what's happening in other institutions or in other parts of the world, to have exchange programs and so forth. So money is actually the core. Finances or physical resource is the core resources, is the main resource that is needed in an organization to run effectively. The impact of teaching and learning process, as far as we have seen, is based on these major two resources. That is the physical resources and the financial resources. The data which supports this has been taken from many resources, as I will say below, the ones I've mentioned from Ball and McLennan 2018 and many others. And this puts into perspective the use of budget support metrics to examine how an institution uses its financial resources to support their teaching and learning process effectively. That takes us back to the fact that we need the right human resource. We need to hire the right accountants who will keep, in many institutions they call them bursar, who will keep our records, who will make a budget so that money coming in is allocated to buy the necessary and the right equipment that is needed for the school. So that's why you can see the two go hand in hand, they go together for effective learning and teaching. We have to get the money, we have to get a right human resource who will make a budget on how to allocate this money, who to pay, who will prioritize what is supposed to be bought for the school that's necessary and what should come or what should be bought later. In conclusion, I want to say that both the human resource and physical resources play a significant role in the success of any institution. These two enhance the teaching and learning process. They make the school what it is. For a good school must have good teachers, it must have good equipment, it must be rich in laboratories, it must have everything that the students need for their practical, it must have a library. Some schools, some institutions don't even have a library because they can't afford to have one. So we have seen that these two resources are very, very important for any institution to run effectively. Thank you very much for listening to me. My references have been taken from Ball, M.J. McLennan, 2018. Number 2 from Hawk K. Camalidon, M.A. 2014. Third reference is from Midwa, M.F. 2010. And the last reference is from OMEB, C.A. 2014. I will give this as a handout for you to see, but most important, you can find out this from these references that I've given. Thank you very much for listening to me.